Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Unless you've never been here, of course, then welcome. I'm so glad you've stopped by. Today, we are reviewing the Patrick Star One Size collection. I had seriously debated on whether I was going to get this collection or not, hence the delay in filming the review. But Mark and I, my boyfriend, if you don't know who he is, I will leave a video linked right up here where he turns me into his high school crush named Candy. If you haven't met him before, it's a great video to watch. Anyway, we went to Sephora and I was checking out all of the recent launches, and there really just wasn't a whole lot that had launched recently that I hadn't reviewed already, except for the One Size collection. So I figured, why not go ahead and give you guys a review. So if you too would like to know a little bit more about the Patrick Star One Size brand, if you'd like to see what the palette looks like, what it performs like, how it swatches, and what the liners and liquid eyeshadows perform like, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. So this is the unit carton for the Patrick Star One Size Visionary Eyeshadow Palette. Very sleek, simple in my opinion, and I think it's something a little different that we haven't seen before with the aesthetic that he has going on. Then if we flip it over, it shows all the ingredients for the individual shades. Now this palette was a whopping $42, which is pretty standard for prestige tier pricing, so it does fall in line with most other Sephora brands. Here's what the palette itself looks like. The component is made of what feels like cardboard, but it does have this metallic finish on it. But luckily it's not one of those glass-like metallic finishes that hold on to your fingerprint, so you don't have to worry about it getting too mucked up too quickly. Then flipping it over, it gives just a brief description of what the palette is, showing its 15 shades, which is 9 super pigmented mattes and 6 eye-catching shimmers that are opaque, creamy, and blendable. We also have this little notch on the side here, so that if you do have long nails, then you can still flip up the side without breaking a nail. I don't at the moment, as you see, so it's not really that big of a deal for me. But when I do have acrylics on, it is kind of a big deal. Then if we open the palette itself, we are greeted by many neutrals, some olive tones, and a blue. Looks like a pretty fair mix of warms, neutrals, a pop of color, and a black. I do want to comment on the cute little pan presses. I just love pan press designs. I think they're so cute. And it's cute little Patrick Stars with his little turban on his head and a different one on in each press that he's on, which I think it's super cute. And then his little bald head in the soft serve. And with that, that is the palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in, and we're gonna get started on swatches. The first shade is the shade Manila Sands. Taupe of my game. Brownie. Suede Charm. Turban Legend, Title Holder, Soft Serve, Everything, All of It, Blue Mondu, Mango, Booked, Walnut Strut, Matcha, Rebel Gray. Okay, and there's every single swatch from the Patrick Star One Size Visionary palette. As always, I will insert photos of the swatches, one with flash here, and one without flash here. And here is our video close-up of every single swatch. All in all, based on those swatches, I like the press of this palette because it's not pressed so hard that you really have to dig in to get pigment out of it, which I prefer because I do like the palettes that build up a little bit faster. That being said, there are some people that don't like that, so just know in advance that it's kind of medium pressed. I don't anticipate having a ton of fallout with it, but regardless, I'm still going to start with my eyes because it's habit at this point. I am going to go ahead and prime my eyes with my P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 02. Now while I'm priming, I would like to mention that I realize this is another nude palette, and I realize that so many people hate that brands keep coming out with nude palettes when the market is already so saturated. But I think something that we could all benefit from understanding is that if you look at both Sephora and Ulta and you look at all the best selling eyeshadow palettes, they're all neutral eyeshadow palettes. The average person wears nudes. They wear neutrals. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think maybe what I see from Patrick Starrr with this palette, and honestly from just about any brand that launches another nude palette, is the goal is to create the new staple for people to use. I try to think of it kind of like the invention of the wheel, you know? You're always gonna have tires on your car, and they're always gonna be essentially the same. They're gonna be a tire for your car. But that doesn't change the fact that there's still gonna be a multitude of brands that are making those tires for your car. Kind of the same concept with a nude palette. Every brand is trying to get that money. That's the end goal. And it is the smartest decision, in my opinion, for a brand to create their own version of the wheel so that they can become the staple in your life. However, I do understand where people are coming from whenever they do say that the industry is oversaturated with neutral palettes and nude palettes, but who's to say that it's not oversaturated with color as well? So with that being said, I just want to say that I understand where he was coming from by creating this type of palette as his first palette, because it's probably gonna sell more than a colorful palette would have. Who knows? It might even end up being on the best-selling list of 2021. You never know. Now, I love me some cool tones, so I'm gonna go with cool tones. I'm gonna start by using the Morphe X Jeffree Star JS9 brush and go into the shade Taupe of My Game. This is the perfect cool tone neutral for me. I mean, it literally looks like my skin tone when I don't have any eyeshadow base down because I have such discoloration around my eyes. It looks like this color, kind of. Maybe I'm a little bit warmer, but it's close. With the shade Taupe of My Game now applied, I'm going to use the Morphe M533 Giant Fluffy Brush, and I'm going to use the shade Manila Sands to blend out the outer edges of this shade. There is quite a bit of kick up in the pan honestly from both of these shades. From Taupe of My Game, I didn't tap off the excess, but this time I am, because I don't want the lighter shade to overpower everything. I just want it to be essentially used as my buffer. I could kind of get the same result from just a clean brush, but I wanted to lighten it up just a little bit. You guys know how much I love me that smoky look. There we go. That's kind of the whole overall vibe I wanted, just that soft, nice, blended out cool tone right in the crease just to add that dimension, make it look like I have a bigger crease. Go big or go home, as my mother always told me. So now I'm going to use this Ulta X Harry Potter The Stone brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Turban Legend, which is the black. I know, I'm scared of it too, but I'm just gonna barely tap into it, hopefully, and hope that it mixes with Taupe of My Game enough to cool it down and make it just a deeper taupe is my goal. So I'm gonna start by just putting it on the outer corner so that I can use it in very small amounts. Okay, like that. And then I'm gonna start using tiny little circular motions combined with some windshield wiper motions to start carrying it through the crease and bring it all the way around toward the inner corner. And see, this is kind of how you can know if you've got a good black or not, because what should happen is this black should stay where I put it, but then slowly pull into one direction. So far, it's working really well, actually. It's doing exactly what I intended it to do. It's not turning patchy yet. Hopefully it won't, period. But it seems like blacks are hard to create sometimes. Good blacks, anyway. Yeah, that's working really well so far, actually. Actually, I am going to take just a little bit smaller of a brush because I'm really worried about that becoming too large. So I'm just going to use a Morphe M321. I think it's actually an inner corner highlight brush, but I'm just going to take it because it's point. Oh no. I know what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a Morphe M506 once I find one. Aha! Here, Morphe M506. See how it's just a perfect little point? That's because it's a pointed detail blender. So we can take Turban Legend just on the very tippy tip of that point and put it right in the crease. Now I'm like barely touching my crease. It literally tickles because it feels like a feather is just brushing against my crease. But you see how it makes just the perfect detail line? It's exactly what we want. Really, I should have used this brush to apply it to the outer corner and the inner corner, but I didn't, and here we are. I might have gone a little heavy on the black. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'll find out more closer to the end once I've actually finished the look and everything kind of comes together. We'll figure out if it's way too dark or not, but I'm kind of liking just the general flow that the look has so far. I've definitely got dimension, there's no doubt about that. So the next product we're gonna use now is the Eye Popper Sparkle Vision Eyeshadow. This is in the shade Let's Pump, and these are $22. Again, that's kind of in the range of Sephora pricing. I mean, if you think of like Stila liquid eyeshadows, I think they're $25 a piece. So it is pretty standard pricing. Now I think they had 5 different shades of these. Kinda wish that I would have picked the lightest shade they had, but I feel like the shade that I picked is one of the most universal shades that they did have. I mean, they had this really beautiful black that I almost considered getting, but I figured that would kind of leave me limited on what I could do. So I thought the shade was gonna be, like I said, the most universal. So let's see what this is like. It's very metallic. It's definitely opaque. It has some solid pigment as well as pretty fine particles of glitter. Now, I'm not going to take this quite all the way to the inner corner because I'm going to be covering it up again with the black, but I am going to take it high up. Sorry, I've got a little doggy in my lap now and he's kind of moving things around for me. He was so angry that I picked him up. Can you say hi, Leaf? Say hi. I love you. He doesn't care. He just wants to go back to sleep on my lap. The shade is quite beautiful. Looking at it now on the skin though, I'm really glad that I didn't pick the other gold type shade because this one is a lot more gold than I thought it was gonna be. So I can only imagine how much more gold the other one would have looked. Now, I am curious to see if the edges of this will blend out. So I'm gonna take this other Morphe M506 brush that I've got and just lightly blend right around the edges and see if I can soften them a little bit. The brush at first just wants to pick up the glitter and move it around, not really the pigment as much, but it is softening. It is taking the edges and making them much less harsh, softer. But this is getting glitter all over my face and all under my eyes, and it's definitely moving the glitter around a lot. That actually looks really, really beautiful. However, ton of glitter fallout. So if you're gonna try and blend out one of these eye poppers on the eye, definitely do it before the rest of your makeup. Luckily, I started my day with mixing a liquid highlighter with my SPF. So it did put glitter pieces all over my face anyway, so it's not a huge problem getting glitter on my face. Now I'm just going to take the same Morphe M506 that I used earlier in Turban Legend and take it back into Turban Legend and just re-emphasize the black on the outer corner and the inner corner of my lid. That way it just still looks like it's a spotlight eye and I don't lose that effect. I'm also now very curious how another shimmer shade is going to stack on top of the eye popper. So using my pinky, I'm gonna go into the shade Rebel Gray and I'm gonna lightly tap right on top of my lid, right in the center. Oh, that's really pretty. Rebel Gray is definitely not as shiny as the popper was, but it has that nice cool toned metallicness to it, which is really nice. So I'm not complaining. Let me see if I can blend out the edges of that. I'm gonna use the Ulta X Harry Potter brush set, the wand brush. and just see if I can soften those edges as well. You know, close up, that's actually really not that pretty. It kind of took away from the brilliance of the eye popper, and it kind of wants to wipe right off the top of it. It's almost like the eye popper just made a solid layer on my lid. Kind of like if you were to use a glitter glue and then set it. Yeah, I'm literally pulling up Rebel Gray. Huh. That's interesting. Okay, so once you put an eye popper down, you've pretty much made a solid layer. So I guess I'm just gonna take the popper a little bit more right on top of that, just to re-emphasize what I took off, because it did take a little bit off whenever I was taking off Rebel Gray. And I guess that will be it for the crease colors. Oh, wow, if you use the brush on it while it's still really wet, it does move around the pigment as well as the glitter, but it doesn't have nearly as much fallout with the glitter. So if you move quick, you can blend it. Ooh, that was much more successful than the first time. Now for the brow bone, I'm gonna use the wand brush that I used earlier to try and blend out the popper, but it didn't work, so the brush is still clean. And I'm gonna use the shade Olive It, and I'm gonna use that as my brow bone highlight. It's honestly the closest shade I can find to the popper that I used. Oh no, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna combine that with Walnut Strut. Oh, I hope this is gonna make the right kind of color. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Looks like those mix almost perfectly to make a little bit warmer of a cool shimmer shade. It's a gorgeous brow bone highlight. You know what? I actually want to see what happens if I take just a little bit of Rebel Gray and put it right on top of both of those shades. Same brush, I'm just being messy now. Got everything cleaned up as much as I think I want to. I don't know for sure, I'll decide later. But now it's time to move on to liner. I'm gonna start with the 24-hour gel eyeliner. This is the Point Made eyeliner, and it's in the shade Bodacious Black. So hopefully after I use it, I will have a very bodacious waterline. I have so much glitter in my beard. I feel like I should be in a Kesha song. Okay, pigment on first touch. That's nice, so you don't have to like heat it up or rub it on the back of your hand or anything like that. Very smooth, opaque. I like it. Wow, that took almost no liner. It looks just as sharp as it did when I started. If not a little bit sharper, actually. And I got a lot of pigment down. I mean, there's definitely some liner on my waterline. Now we just gotta see if it stays there. I'm also gonna probably make my eyes water a little bit more and go ahead and tightline as well. Okay, tightlining is done. And again, I still have a ton of available pencil left. Coming in at another $19 is the Point Made 24-Hour Liquid Eyeliner Pen. Since I did go so dark on the eye look, I don't know that this wing will show up quite as much as I would want it to, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because I need to test how this pen is going to perform. This is also in the shade Bodacious Black, and is it a shake? No, it's not a shaker, okay. I always like the eyeliners that have the little bend in it right here so that you can hold it really tightly. It kind of just fits in the groove of your hand. Looks like it's a felt tip. I personally prefer a brush tip just because I feel like they don't get clogged nearly as much, but we'll see if this gets clogged. It looks like a really long applicator as well. It's a little bit longer than I anticipated. So let's see how she works. Well, it's very sharp, it's opaque, it's super black, I think it's drying very matte. I have no qualms with it. It performed really well. It's actually a really nice liner. I'd probably put it within top 5. Kind of reminds me of the Maybelline, what is it? That Precise one. I think I have it. Like Master Point or Point Precise, Master Pointer Precise, I don't know, Master something. It reminds me of the Maybelline Master Precise All Day. I would bet you, oh, it's the exact same component. It even has the same little ridgy thingy in it, the same cap, the same end, the exact same applicator. Well, I do declare. That is a wing if I've ever seen one. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pop off camera and finish the rest of this look completely. And once I come back, I'll give you guys my final thoughts on the Patrick Star One Size Beauty collection. Let's go ahead now and finish off the lower lash line now that the rest of the look is complete. Before I do that though, I would like to mention that this gel liner in my waterline has lasted really well through the rest of my makeup. The only places it's worn down is literally just on the very outer corners of my waterline. So now to start with the lower lash line, I'm going to use the Sigma short shader brush, which is the E20 brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Blue Mondew, and I'm taking just the slightest, tiniest bit of this shade, and I'm going to start applying this right on the inner portion of my lower lash line. I really just want to add the slightest bit of a pop of color because I need some blue in my life, always and forever. Now with Blue Mondew applied, I'm going to take this other flat-ish brush, kind of C-shaped but not quite as wide, but this one has a little bit more of a buffer to it. It's a little more fluffy. I'm going to go into the shade Matcha. And again, I'm just taking the shadow on the tippy tip of the brush, tapping off any excess. And this time I'm going to start in the outer edge of the lower lash line and apply Matcha right against the lashes. And right in the center, I'm just going to start blending it into Blue Mondew. I'm not going to do too much buffing out right now because I'm still going to go in with one more shade. But just to start, I'm just going to mix them in with each other. That is gorgeous. I love that. And now for the very last shade, I'm going to use the Dalton Shadow Shader brush and go back into the shade Taupe of My Game. I went ahead and grabbed some of the shade Rebel Gray and put it on the inner corner, as well as going in with my Smashbox Full Exposure Mascara on my lower lashes to finish off the look. And with those two last steps, that is everything done for this review of the Patrick Star One Size collection. Now, because I have hooded lids, I did have to apply the eye popper one more time because it had actually stuck to itself and then pulled itself off with my eyes opening and closing over and over again, which does sometimes happen with liquid shadows on my eye. So just bear that in mind. Throughout the day, it will wear off, which is kind of a disappointment. But I can't say that I'm surprised because that does happen quite often with liquid shadows versus powder shadows. Now this gel liner is definitely one of the best gel liners I've used. It stays so strong in the waterline and it sticks through my watery eyes, so it's pretty powerful. Definitely would recommend the gel liner. Then when it comes to the liquid liner pen, I like this liner. Like I said before, it's not necessarily my favorite liner. It does remind me a lot of the Maybelline Master Precise, not only in its form because it's exactly the same component, but also in its formula a little bit. Then when it comes to the Visionary palette, I think if you put this in line with more of the more popular neutral eyeshadow palettes, it definitely falls in line. I think it could for sure become a neutral staple in many people's preferred eyeshadow palettes. The pigmentation is there, the blendability is there, the black is really good, and it has a cute little pop of blue, which, I mean, yeah, what neutral palette doesn't nowadays? But it performed well. I like it. And I think it's gonna hold its own among my other neutral palettes. So I definitely can say that I would recommend it. So if you love your neutrals, if you love just whipping out those everyday wearable looks, this palette is gonna be for you. It has everything that you need to make those looks happen. You can get the warm looks, you can get the cool looks, you can get the neutral looks, and you can add a pop of blue. Why is it always blue? Is blue like the universal shade? Anyway guys, that's it from me for this Patrick Star One Size collection review. What did you guys think? Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about your favorite product. Did you like the popper the most, the palette the most, the gel liner, or the liquid liner? You guys know that I love to hear your opinions, and I always love to have a conversation with you. It keeps me busy when I'm extra bored. I thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it does let me know that you like my content, but it also lets YouTube know that you like my content. Henceforth, they might actually recommend my videos to people. Also, if you like this look and you want to see more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and TikTok. My username is the same for everything. It's just ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing out of this video, if you gain nothing out of any of my videos, please at least gain this, and that is to always remember and never forget that you are absolutely beautiful. And I love you guys. Bye! Oh, I love you. I love you too, Leaf. I love you too very much. You're a good boy. I love you.